Welcome. So happy you tuned into our video series, Secrets to Seed Beads. My name is Rose, and I will be your hostess for this entire series. I'm a jewelry designer at Fire Mountain Gems and Beads. We put together this 10-part seed bead series to give all seed beaders and potential seed beaders an opportunity to learn some of the most valuable seed beading techniques while creating complete projects. We will start with the most basic ladder stitch, and with each project, we will add more complexity until we get to the 10th design in the series, a necklace that incorporates tubular peyote, seed bead embroidery, brick stitch, spiral rope stitch, fringe technique, and a seed bead bezel. Don't worry, we will teach these techniques and more one at a time as we go through this 10-part series. So here's our very first design, the beaded suncatcher. This is using that ladder stitch that I kind of make it into a quilling stitch. Let's get started. This is the first one, so we wanted to make sure this is nice and simple and easy. So I'm going to use these nice big beads that you can easily see. And let's get started. The first thing is a ladder stitch. I'm using clear or crystal fireline, which isn't truly clear, but it's the closest we've got. And since I'm using such a light colored bead, I'm going to use this clear fireline. And the first thing is to pick up 4 of these size 8 delicas. I like to use the delicas because they have this really great cylindrical shape, and I want them to lay side by side next to each other so that straight sides makes it a lot easier. Pull those down toward the end of my thread and go up through 2 of them. When I pull that tight, I make like a little circle, but really what I want is I want these to be side by side, and they will be as we get more into it. But we're going to start there, then I'll go back down through this one again, pull it nice and snug, add 2 more. And what we're doing is basically making a figure 8. Up and down, going sideways, getting these little guys to all line up next to each other. Now I'm coming out the bottom of that middle bead, so I want to come up here so I can get to my working end. There we are. That's my working end. Add 2 more. Oh, 2 more, not 1. You notice I hold those beads in my fingers to hold them all tight while I'm working. Then I check it when I'm done. There, that looks pretty good. You can see why it's called a ladder stitch. It's like the rungs of a ladder. Going through those last 2. Go round and round and round in a figure 8 sort of style. Pulling them tight with each pass. And I need 7 sets of these double beads. Now sometimes when you're doing a ladder stitch, you only want 1 bead. For this one I wanted it double thickness because I want to give my suncatcher some body and a little bit of presence, a little bit of oomph. I just keep passing through those and adding 2 more beads. Oh, by the way, this is a super easy stitch, but is by no means fast. I'm just telling you right now. When they don't line up, you tell them to. You're in charge. That is 6. 2 more. Round and round we go. Okay. There's my 7. I did count 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 7. Okay. We're going to turn this. Now we have to make this into a spiral around the central bead. So I'm going to curl this all up and around. So there's going to be 6 beads around the center. Ta-da! And I'm going to go into the second bead rather than the first, although it's not important. The important thing is to end up with this orientation, this look. Not this look right now. There we go. Wait, that's the middle one. There it is. 6 beads around a central bead. And what you're going to have to do is go in and out, up and down, through and through, sewing these all together until every bead is connected with every adjacent bead. So this center bead is going to have 6 threads sewn through it to secure all of this. And not just on the top, but on both sides. So like I say, this is not a fast process. And that is the beginning. And from here, we just keep adding on. And I did make a pattern before I even began. Let me show you my pattern. Let me get this secure before I lose it. So there we have our center, our core. That's the core. This all began with a pattern. Let me show you my pattern. Most seed bead patterns go from the side all the way across. In this case, we're starting in the center. So there's our 6 seed beads. And in fact, I would frequently take a permanent marker or a dry erase marker and just tick these off to say, I've done these ones. These are done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's my core there. And then we're going to build out from that using the pattern as our guide for what color comes next. It doesn't even matter that you go in circles and circles and circles. You could do a circle and then go up and do one of these points and then do one of these points. It just doesn't matter as long as you get all those stitches in. And this series is called The Secrets to Seed Beading Success. So I'm going to share one of my most important secrets of all. Are you ready? Magnifiers. Absolutely essential, especially if you're a seasoned citizen, as I am. I take those magnifiers and I put those onto my standard glasses so that I have some super magnifiers when I'm using those really small seed beads and thread and things like that. So don't feel ashamed if you need magnifiers, because that is one of the big secrets to seed beads. Okay, so as we continue this little pattern here, we'll get up to we'll get further and further into it. Now at this point in my pattern, I'm starting to change colors away from these really light colors to a darker color. So sometimes I like to switch to a darker thread. This is also Fireline, but this is the smoke color. So it's sort of a dark grayish black. And so I switched over to a smoke color because of the darker colors. But be aware that you'll use a lot of thread on this project and you will run out of thread. And this is all I have left of this piece of thread. So I want to show you this secret, which is how to add more thread to a piece of thread that's gotten too short for your use. So here I have another piece of Fireline I'm going to add on. Oh, and by the way, Fireline is a very, very tough thread. In fact, it's used for fishing line too. But it's very flexible and great stuff. But you can't hardly cut it with a pair of scissors. You'll just gnaw away at it with a pair of scissors. So I use nippers to cut my Fireline. So I nip that off there. And I want to add that to this short little piece of thread I was working with. So I tie a little knot. Just an ordinary overhand knot. I tie a second knot to make it into a square knot, hopefully, but a granny knot. If not, it's all right. Pull that knot tight. Tight as you can without pulling it apart. I'm going to trim these little ends so they're not quite so long. And then I'm going to use a thread burner. A thread burner to burn the ends of this thread, to melt the ends of this thread really. Because what I want is for those little ends of the thread to turn into little melted balls like the tips on the ends of a bug's antenna. Let's see if I can make that so you can see it well. See the little balls. There, you can barely see. There's little balls on the end. I don't want them very big. Then I'm going to pull them really tight so that the balls meet in the middle of the knot here, and make a little bump, but that'll be fine for this design because the holes we're going through are big enough that that little bump isn't going to be a problem. And now with my newer, longer, more improved piece of thread, I can continue on with my project. Okay, so we've added our extra thread so we can keep on going. And I've been following my little pattern around and around and around and around. Here's my pattern, and I've marked off where I've been and where I'm going. Right now, I want to add that bead right there, which is that topaz color. And I'm going to be doing 2 topazes. So let me just show you how we start getting into the shape, because right now all we've done is gone around and around. So I'm putting on 2 topazes, and remember this is still just that same old ladder stitch, just that now we're working it more in 3D, and this is what we call quilling. So I've come out of these green beads, I've added 2 of the topaz, I want them to lie next to those green beads, so I'm going to go back through the green beads. That ties it all together. But I can't just tie this to the green beads, it won't be a solid structure. So I have to tie it to every bead that touches that. So I'm going to have to go through that bead and join them together. Right here. Join that one up. I also have to join it to this bead right here. And I have to make sure there's a thread on both sides that are attaching these together. So now there's a thread from here to here, and here to here, and here to here, and on the other side as well. So that's important as well. And we can add our next bead, another topaz. 2 of those. And I've come out this way and go back through that way, so that the beads line up next to each other. And that bead that I just added, it's all loosey-goosey. We've got to attach it to all the beads around it. So I've attached it to the yellow one below, and the topaz one to the diagonal right there. And we can add another bead. The next bead in this series is going to be this blue-greeny color. That green right there. 2 of the greens. And I've come out, I've come out this bead. I missed a step. I want to come back up through here. And I could be marking this on my pattern as I go too, but honestly, I've got this pattern figured out. So I've added the 2 greens. I came out this way, so I'm going to go up through here. So my greens lie side by side, just like that. And make sure they attach to all the beads around it. And you know, if you make a mistake and you accidentally double attach something, no big deal. It's really not a wrong way to do this. Whatever's convenient for you. Now I want to show you what's going to start happening as we form the point. So I'm going to start forming a point right here, just to give you an idea what it's going to look like when you form the bigger points, because I'm a long way from the outside yet. I don't want you to have to watch for that long. So I'm going to show you how you do the point part. It's just still following the pattern that we created. I'm going to go make my point. Let's say, let's look at this pattern. Let's look at this pattern. So you can see I've done all the yellows. I've got the yellows, and then we're going to make a layer of the blue-green. Then we're going to make a layer of the blue. And so we can just think that way. So here I've got a blue one, a blue-green one, this color, coming out. And if I'm making a point with that, I'm going to put this one here, just like when you were playing with blocks when you were a kid. So I'm going to put this blue-green here and start forming a point. In fact, that's a good thing to keep in mind. You don't have to make it as big as I made this one. You can make these any size you want, any color you want as well. Now this one is all loose and movable. I could have put it there, but that would be wrong because this is the beginning of a layer of blue. I want it here. That's where I want it, so that's where I'm going to sew it in. I'm attaching it to that topaz and back down through the green and back up through the topaz. And you can see this green bead right here is only attached here and here. Those are the only two beads it's touching at this point. So that's the only 2 points we need to stitch right now. Next layer is going to be more of this topaz, the last one of the topazes. So I'm adding 2 topaz. Whee! Coming back up through here, tying them in place. These topazes need to be attached to the green. Oops. On both sides, notice there's not a thread between that green and that topaz yet, so it's not fully attached. I need to fully attach it. There we go. And it needs to attach to the topaz below it. And that has that topaz attached to all the 3 beads it's touching. We're going to add the blue-green here. Blue-green, where are you? 2 of them. And I'm going to go through that topaz that I came out of. Make them line up. Tell them where you want them. And attach that green to every bead that it is adjacent to, that it's touching. So you can see I'm starting to form a point here. I just don't want you to have to watch this whole stitching technique. This is a long one. Next, I'm going to continue this green point, so I'm going to put 2 greens here. And it doesn't even matter what order you do this in, because you can then just work your way back down and go back to where you started from. I'm just going to make a point to show you how to make a point. So this one is still all loose and floofy, so we need to attach it to the topaz down below. There we go. In fact, sometimes I think this is kind of fun because I could just start doing all the green row and then I could do all the purple row and it's all good. Another green one's going to go right here. Make them lay next to each other. If they're not laying next to each other, you've done something wrong. And just go back and fix it. Don't accidentally tie a knot in your thread like I'm about to do either. There we go. And again, this one's all loose and floppy, so it has to attach to that topaz here. And it has to attach to the green one here. And don't make a knot. Here we go. And last, to finish the tip of this here point that we're making, is another double green one. So I've just come out the bottom of this green. I'll go in through the top of the same green. And again, this is all loose and floppy. So we need to also attach the green below. So now we've kind of played loose and free with our pattern. It's the same pattern, it's just that now I have just completed the green row here. I think it's that one. No, it's this one. This is the green row. So I've just completed that row and the topaz below it. Let's mark it off. So we finished these topazes. We finished this whole green row. Now if I want to continue with that point, I will next do the blue row, or whatever color it's supposed to be. Yes, indeed, it is the blue. So from where I'm at right now, you see we had already started the blue row because there's the blue right there. So we'd already started that, so we could just weave our way back to where that blue is, or we could start where we are. All we have to do is follow the pattern. So I'm going to start the blue row for this point up and down here. In many ways, I find to do it this way rather than the circles I started with, it's easier to follow the pattern because you know you're going to do a row of blue and then you're going to do a row of green and then you're going to do a row with a sort of brown purple color. And it might be actually easier for you to follow the pattern. But do remember that you have to attach to every set of beads that this touches. So I have to attach to that blue. I have to attach to the ones beneath it. And not tie myself in knots. I have to attach to the one, where did I just come out? Nope, I want to go up through there. I want to attach to the one beside it. And then I can add 2 more blues. I hope that's enough for you to get the gist of it. You can go back and start working with this. It'll become very obvious when you start working with it. Here I'm adding 2 more blues because I'm going to go up and down in the blue. And I don't know how much of this you want to watch. So let's take a break here and I'll show you what it looks like when we get even further along. Okay, so here we are after several hours of working on this. I didn't say it was fast. I said it was easy. In fact, you remember that kid's toy, the plastic fusible beads that you could put into a pattern, then iron over the top of them and melt them together. It's a lot faster, but this is a more adult version. It's very zen while you're zoning out, thinking of your own thoughts. It's also made out of glass, so it's lots more durable and got more shine, and I think it's a lot prettier. It's the adult version. But this is a Secrets to Seed Beads series, so I want to show you another secret. So I'm going to make my bail using these really cool Wubbers pliers, and I'm just going to use those to make my triangle jump rings. This has 2 sides. Each jaw is different. One's a little bit smaller, one's a little bit bigger, and there's lots and lots of sizes. This isn't the only pair of Wubbers pliers that exists. Lots of sizes, lots of shapes. And all I'll do is I'm going to grip my wire. I like to be up near the tip somewhere. And rather than move the pliers so much, mostly I move the wire. So I push the wire down against the Wubbers, and I push them back up against the Wubbers. And I've almost got the triangle, but I'm going to take it off the Wubber. I find it's easier this way. Take it off the Wubber and reposition my Wubber. And then I push down again. And then if I want to make that even more triangular, Patty's better at this than I am. Patty Bullard. There we go. And sometimes I'll even push that back in there to make sure that that join is nice and smooth. So there is a triangular jump ring. I just need to cut it. Let me get that off of there so you can see it better. I just need to cut it off of the big spool of wire. And I will use my nippers. Another secret to beading in general, nippers have two sides. This side is going to make a flush cut. This side is going to make a concave cut. So I want my flush cut on the side I'm keeping. So I'm going to make a flush cut right there. And then I'm going to make a flush cut over here. And there I have a triangle jump ring. And I can make another one just like it, and I can make one just a little bit bigger than that. Oh, looky, I happen to have some that I already made. Oh, magic. Here's a big one that I made, but I haven't cut it yet, so I'll show you how I cut that. I want to make sure it's good and flush. I see that edge is kind of wonky. See how kind of wonky? Put that back in there. I'm going to give it a little squeeze. Just smooth it out a bit. Yeah, that looks better, doesn't it? Okay. So I'm going to flush cut this end that I'm keeping. And I'm going to flush cut this other end that I'm keeping. There we go. And there's my big triangle jump ring. Yay! Ooh. Now, I always say over and over and over and over and over and over, with jump rings, you twist them open and you twist them shut. Well, it's not going to work this time. Because I want to put one of these jump rings through that bead there. And I honestly, I haven't figured out how to do it except to pull them open the way I always tell people not to do. Fact is, we're using this as a bail, like an ice pick bail, and not so much like a jump ring. So I pulled it open. That gives me a way to put that through that hole there. And I'm also going to add my chain at the same time. Got a little tiny short piece of chain here. Come on, baby. Put that through my jump ring, my bail, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to close that into my seed bead gently. Remember, these are pretty small walled. There we go. So we've got a little chain attached there. And I want to put this crystal, this beautiful Egyptian crystal. Is it Egyptian, I believe? And same thing, I'm going to have to pull open the jump ring. Go through this crystal. Well, let's go through the chain first. I'm going to go through the chain. It's got a very wide top on this. This is why I used that really big triangle jump ring. Go through there. I might even have to open it up some more. There we go. And again, gently close that down into the hole at the top of the crystal without chipping and breaking your beautiful crystal. There we go. And then we'll do the same thing on the top with the other chain. Oh, look at this. Like I said, this is a great little pad for doing your seed beads, but I don't need it right now. I'm going to use the smaller jump ring, triangle bail, whatever you want to call it, through my chain and through the holes of these seed beads, and with great dexterity close that up. There we go. Then on this end, I'm going to put a nice big clasp with just an ordinary jump ring, the kind I twist open. Big clasp. Put on the jump ring. And there you have it. Complete project. Loop this over your rear view mirror. Clasp it wherever you want. A sun catcher for your car or your window. That's the first in our series of Secrets to Seed Beads. Next up on episode 2, we're going to teach you how to make fringe earrings using brick stitch. I hope you'll join me for episode 2, and in the meantime, happy beading!